Greetings! This is Captain Henson, and today we will be talking about Star Wars The Bad Batch, Episode 10, Common Ground. With me today is...
Jedi Knight Luke Warren here, and a very unexpected third member.
And this is the Spider Fan Maniac.
Alright, so, like last week, we're going to be going over the major plot points of the episode. Starting with the beginning.
Basically, all you guys need to know who are watching this about the episode itself is that the Bad Batch are assigned the task of rescuing a former CIS senator. So, the opening scene is on Raxus, and we have a newly introduced female officer, Captain Bragg, who is informing the citizens of Raxus about the changes and the supposed benefits that they will gain if they comply to the Empire's rule. And it's then that Senator Avi Sign is seen speaking to his protocol droid about the fact that what the Empire are doing is actually wrong. So when Avi is called by Captain Bragg to address his people, he actually turns things around on the Empire mid-speech and says that they must rebel against them. And what does that lead to as a result?
Leads to capture, but the senator did leave instructions for his droid. So, droid contacts Sid, who sends the Bad Batch, but Hunter, feeling protective of Omega, orders her to stay at Sid's. So, while the Bad Batch are off doing this mission, Omega is at Sid's. And of course, things are heated at first, until Sid learns that Omega is really good at strategy, and the game was Dejarik, right?
Yes.
So because of her amazing strategic know-how, she's able to easily win Dejarik. So their side story is Omega just kicking everyone's ass at Dejarik, to the point where she pays off the Bad Batch's debt to Sid. The Bad Batch rescue the Senator, bring him and his droid to Sid's. Hunter and Omega have a moment. She tells him their debt is paid off, and that she can go on missions. She is useful. So Hunter decides to pull a Rocky 3, and they're gonna have a little match. If she wins, she can go on missions. If she doesn't, she can't. So, like I said, they pull a Rocky 3, they start a match, but we don't see who wins. And that was the episode.
One of the most interesting things about this episode, in my opinion, is seeing a loyal soldier of the Republic within the Bad Batch's circle, that being Echo, obviously, express his disdain towards helping out a former associate of the CIS, because the other members of the Bad Batch don't seem particularly bothered by it, do they?
I mean, that must be due to Echo being a quote-unquote normal clone trooper, right? Because
the rank and file trooper.
The likes of Echo is programmed to be more loyal than the Bad Batch members, which are quote-unquote more independent, or whatever you describe it. So, yes, he would have a reason to be more loyal to the Republic.
Yeah, and it is one of those things we don't see a real conclusion to. It is brought up that, Echo isn't a fan of helping a Separatist senator, not trusting him, and that does come up a few times in the episode, but we don't really see a conclusion to that. So I would assume we're going to see more of that, even if it's not with this particular senator.
So you think it will eventually reach a point where Echo is just going to have to kind of suck it up, in a sense?
I do think we are going to see him at some point just have to deal with it. He has to accept the reality of the situation, that the Separatists are not only no longer a thing, but the Empire is far, far worse. That they have a common enemy.
One thing you have to realize is, whether you're a Jedi, or a defected clone, or an ex-Separatist, it doesn't matter to the Empire, because you're all basically the same. You are a threat to the Empire, right? Maybe they could all unite against the Empire, who knows?
Yeah.
Although, we don't get to really see or learn anything about this senator's life during the Clone Wars, which I thought was a missed opportunity. Because this is one thing I have a problem with Dave Filoni, and I won't go into too much rant. There are a few episodes where he does try to describe the Separatists as also the good guys in the other side of the war. But if you see TCW, most of the Separatists are bad guys committing mass genocide or war crimes. So, I mean, it would be better if we understand more about the Separatists and why they fought against the Republic. But maybe next time, who knows?
Yeah,
Or
certainly
maybe
one of the
never.
downsides of TCW. But we do see here that, yes, separatists can be genuinely good people.
Moving on
But I will
from
say this, Raxus looked beautiful.
This is not Rexus Prime because I'm pretty sure
No.
that's right.
No, it's
Raxus
just
Prime-
called Raxus.
It must be one of those many Rexus.
Yeah, so yeah. I thought the planet itself, mostly referring to the natural setting, looked beautiful.
And then, of course, you have the basically stormtroopers at this point. Well, they're still clones, but obviously they are phasing out the personalization because not only have you got clone troopers in plain armor, you've got colorless AT-ATs. So as a
Although,
result, the Empire kind of stands out like a sore thumb on Raxus.
something I do notice, which is kind of interesting, is like, I thought many of the Empire or the Imperial officers would try to have their revenge against the Separatists for being the enemy. You know, those kind of things actually happen, right? You killed our people and now we won, so you guys need to pay the price. But I don't think we actually kind of see that thing now. It's more like we will treat all the planets in the galaxy equally. I doubt that to be true because, well, the core worlds are treated better than the outer rim, but it's kind of interesting to see that. The Empire doesn't just go and ruin the hell out of the planet for revenge.
Something I do hope we get the setup for it is seeing that a lot of the alliance was made up of former separatists. Now, obviously, we don't get the actual alliance until Rebels, which is like, what, 14, 16 years away?
I think
More like
14.
it was more like 3 BBY or something, so
It's
If it
very,
was
very close to
at
Rogue
7,
One: A New Hope. But the
if it
seeds
was
can be planted here, as
if it
they were in this episode with this senator.
shifting from the serious side for a moment and looking at the more humorous side, Sid not afraid to just speak her mind as always. I mean, just as a case in point example here, we all know how Tech is when he starts talking about something, right?
Yep.
As soon as he hears about something, he will tell you every single little factoid he possibly can. And when Tech started doing that about Raxus during the first scene on Ord Mantell in this episode with Sid just went as blunt as possible with him and went, I ain't interested in the history lesson, goggles.
Yeah, and she even calls Hunter Bandana. Character
Yeah, and
interactions are still on point.
I think Sid even addressed Hunter to Omega as dark and broody at one stage.
Yes.
It's like she does not respect the Bad Batch enough to call them by their names.
Yep, sounds about right. And hey, as it turns out, even before the Dejarik stuff, she did at least care somewhat about Omega. Wasn't a lot, but it was something.
more
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
Watto and Anakin type of relationship, I see.
I wouldn't say
Well,
Sid
more
is
so like wanting to make sure Omega was okay,
she
but not
doesn't.
doing a lot about it.
Sid doesn't abuse Omega the way Watto did to Anakin. In fact, she doesn't abuse her at all. She just makes her her cleaning servant around the bar.
Or it is kind of weird or kind of unusual for a Trandoshan behavior if you think about it. Trandoshans are usually known to be bloodthirsty and violent, and generally aggressive at best, right? Look at Boss, look at all those. No wonder they're usually traders and Wookiee hunters. But Sid doesn't seem to be like that. He seems to be level-headed. I don't know if she's aggressive or is she controlling, but yeah, he doesn't behave like the normal Trandoshan.
Though something that I think should be mentioned as well is that Sid makes a remark to Omega about the fact that she was assigned the job of looking after Omega, and Omega just very bluntly responds with, for how much?
Not enough.
Omega has been around Sid for long enough at this point to get an idea that there could very well be money in it for Sid in exchange for looking after Omega. So, who knows? Does she get a cut out of this come the next episode? We shall see, I guess.
Well, I mean, I would say it's more so just the fact, and this was established before the Bad Batch left, is the Bad Batch themselves are doing this mission to rescue the Senator, and it's all about making sure that the job gets done. So as long as Omega is safe, the job can get done.
However, as we see later on in this episode, when the Bad Batch actually infiltrate the Senator's quarters in an attempt to save him, there's a point where Hunter makes a call out to Omega,
Yes.
completely forgetting that Omega was not there.
Yeah, so it's very clear that he does like having her on missions, but because she's so young, he'd rather keep her safe and at a distance.
Not to mention all the crap she'd been through from the previous episode especially.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 bounty hunters after you.
Yeah,
Well, not just that, but the revelation.
But still, 2 bounty hunters after someone who is still just a kid. I mean, that's a lot for someone of Omega's age to wrap their head around.
But then again, Boba Fett had dealt warts, so I don't know.
Well, you've got to look at the different situations.
Yeah, Jango Fett was directly involved with Boba's life. We don't know enough about Omega's upbringing to really comment. But given the fact that she was surprised to find this out, I think it's clear that Jango had little to nothing to do with her.
Something that should be mentioned with Boba is that because of how abruptly Jango's life ended, Boba had to toughen up pretty much on his own, correct?
Yeah.
He didn't really have a support system, whereas Omega wasn't really in that position, and she's got a support network around her in the form of the matured clones.
Yeah, I think the show kind of shows something like even the same person, one in a different environment, the girl is a totally different person. I mean, note that not all clones behave exactly, but Omega has the Bad Batch and all those Kaminoans near her, while Boba Fett, after his father died, had to survive in this harsh galaxy alone. So I wonder if Omega does survive the end to the show, how will she grow up as an adult? Unlike Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's not that Omega is completely helpless, but because of this very sudden shift in her life, she's got to toughen up as quickly as possible, and because of that, she's still very vulnerable at heart.
Alright, is there anything else that needs to be discussed?
Is there anything worth talking about with the interrogation scene?
Probe droid!
Yeah, we see the probe droid again, which was nice, but it wasn't used.
It was about to
Yeah,
be
it was
used.
about to, but it wasn't used. Because the Bad Batch got in there just in time.
You know, like they used to say, you gotta use methods that are convincing.
Uh-huh.
Alright, so, that it?
Think so.
Alright, and with that, we come to the end of yet another Bad Batch podcast. Overall, this was a really solid episode. More standalone, but still, really nice character interactions, and yeah.
To me, a very good episode, this one. It's probably one of the weaker episodes when looking at the entire spectrum, but that's not the episode's own fault, nor am I saying it's bad. The character interactions and the locations are all on point, and we'll see where this goes next.
I do think the episode is interesting, but I kind of wish future episodes focus more on the world building compared to the characters, because I think at this point we know these characters enough, but not the world enough. So yeah, that's something I want from this series.
Right.
Okay then. Until next time.
Yes, until next time. With me today has been
The Spider Fan Maniac.
This is Luke Warren signing off. May the Force be with you.
and of course, the wonderful and always fantastic Captain Henson. See you all next time.